It is impossible to understand the present, the future, and the consequences of the American-Israeli war, whose fuse was ignited by the American president against Iran, and which has now entered its second week, without conducting a careful study of the first statement issued by Mr. Ayatollah Mojtaba Hosseini Khamenei, the third supreme leader, marking the beginning of his rule in Tehran and his leadership of the resistance from his secure hospital room at a secret location in the Iranian capital. There are two strategic points mentioned in this statement that are considered the most important among its 5 points. The first is the continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and the second is the expansion of the scope of resistance against the aggression and the opening of new fronts. The first, closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is considered the most powerful nuclear bomb, has already been implemented and has produced its initial substantial results, given the global economic war it has triggered. Its most prominent manifestation is the sharp rise in energy prices, oil and gas, the tripling of insurance costs for tankers and other commercial vessels, and the collapse of global stock markets. As for the second regional nuclear bomb, in our view, namely the expansion of the war fronts and the involvement of additional forces, it has begun with the opening of the Iraqi front. This development may be even more dangerous militarily due to its repercussions for most neighboring countries that are indirectly involved, especially Jordan and the Gulf states. The common factor among them is the presence of American military bases on their territories and the fragility of their own defensive capabilities compared with Iran, which is considered a threshold nuclear state and possesses military industries, missile capabilities, drones, and a land area perhaps larger than all those states combined. The first indicator of Iraq, whose majority population is Shiite, joining the Iranian defensive front against the American aggression, was the downing of an American KC-132 aircraft specialized in refueling Israeli and American bombers and fighter jets heading to strike targets deep inside Iran. The plane was shot down in western Iraq, killing 6 members of its crew. This step came after reports were leaked that Iran had supplied Iraqi resistance factions with highly advanced surface-to-air missiles to shoot down Israeli and American bombers taking off from U.S. military bases in Jordan and the Israeli-occupied state. There are 6 Iraqi resistance factions that openly declare their support for Iran and their alignment with it against this joint Israeli-American aggression. Harakat al-Najah, Hezbollah Iraq, Ansar Allah al-Awfiya, Kataib Sayyid al-Shuhada, Asaib al-Haq, and Kataib Karbala, in addition to smaller factions. Together, these groups operate under the umbrella of the Popular Mobilization Forces, PMF. Iraqi sources whose credibility we trust have alerted us to the possibility that Sunni Iraqi factions may also enter the battlefield to fight alongside their Shiite brothers against the United States, which they believe abandoned and betrayed them, and against Israel, the state that occupied Palestine and is carrying out a war of genocide in the Gaza Strip. Thus, the American strategy may backfire on its architects. We should remember and remind others that the Sunni resistance in Iraq played a major role in confronting the American occupation, killing at least 6,000 U.S. soldiers and forcing then-President Barack Obama to decide to withdraw from Iraq in November 2011 in order to reduce losses. Colleagues arriving from Jordan speak of a state of deep concern prevailing within official circles and among their popular base due to the rapid developments in Iraq related to plans to escalate resistance against the American-Israeli aggression on Iran, and the growing possibility that this escalation could spread to Jordan. Jordan does not deny the presence of American bases on its territory from which interceptor missiles are launched to target Iranian drones and missiles heading toward occupied Palestine, aiming at Tel Aviv, Haifa, Acre, Eilat, Dimona, and other occupied Palestinian cities. Jordan's eastern border with Iraq extends for more than 181 kilometers. A year ago, Iraqi factions mobilized nearly 1 million fighters along this border and signaled their readiness to cross it to reach the occupied Palestinian interior. It is not unlikely that this scenario could be repeated through both the Jordanian and Syrian fronts to achieve this objective again. A responsible Jordanian source describes such a possibility as an existential threat to Jordan and to the new temporary system in Syria, the latter having no friendly relations with Iraq or Iran and placing all its bets on the United States. Iraq's transformation into a confrontation front and its alignment, at least in large part, with the Iranian defensive camp represents a major pivotal development in the current war and a significant reinforcement of resistance against the American-Israeli aggression. The early signs of this shift can be seen in the repeated shelling of the American embassy in Baghdad and the independent Green Zone, which serves as the center of American influence and occupation. The series of American and Israeli losses in this war has begun forcefully. The number of American casualties has reached about 16 in less than 2 weeks, in addition to the bombing of the aircraft carriers Lincoln and Gerald Ford. Israeli losses have exceeded 2,000 killed and wounded, along with widespread destruction across most of Tel Aviv and the flight of hundreds of thousands of settlers seeking safety. Most importantly, the Iranian regime that the aggression sought to overthrow and replace with a compliant client regime appears to be growing stronger, more expansive, and more resilient. In conclusion, we are awaiting the opening of the Yemeni front, which could become decisive at any moment. Mr. Abdul-Malik al-Houthi has begun preparing for this step when he said in his latest speech that the finger is on the trigger. The coming days may bring shocking surprises for the two states of aggression.